Welcome to Discerning News, where we bring you current stories from a bigger picture perspective. The purpose is to inspire clarity and enthusiasm for your unique journey.
Welcome back. And we've got three stories for you this time. We've got the wildfires, we've got the Facebook fact checker stories, and we've also got a little bit of information about Greenland. And we're also going to wrap up with an overall feeling and a little bit of projection for you. So we're going to start off with the current wildfires. You've probably heard about that. Would you like to start that us off?
Absolutely. Yeah. Obviously, the wildfires are and have been the last week and probably week and a half, or probably going forward longer, a big story out in California. And this really hit me deep because that's my birthplace. And when I was born in 1968, and I lived there for 17 years. So the wildfires were something that happened every year. Santa Ana winds happened every year. The warm winds came, the fires came. I recall as a child looking off into the distance and watching fires as we would be on the roof, literally watching fires off in the distance in different places. But as the years have gone on and different, people are in the positions they're in as far as government and things, things have changed. And I've been back the last couple of years, and I've definitely noticed, there's a lot more homeless on the street. There's a lot more chaos going on. There's a lot more. Well, I'll tell you, this is kind of funny. I brought a friend there. We went to Disneyland, and she was like, how come Buena Park, the Disneyland area, is clean and all the rest of LA really isn't? So there's a lot of things going on. And then coming into, the fire issue, which there's a lot of things that happen there with, I feel, motives being off, with being misled by leaders that are not maybe for the people, that, and also putting trust in a system or something that people believe is in place that really isn't in place. And so that's really what I wanted to open up with, because I feel that there's a lot of juiciness in this story that's even beyond, the fact that the governor did this or the mayor of LA did that. And, but what about the people? What about the fact there was no water? What about the people that lost fire insurance the week before the fire and the week before the Santa Ana winds were flowing in? So that's where I want to go with this. And so I'd love to get some feedback on, the spiritual perspective, which is what we're all about here, from the fires in California.
Well, one of the things that strikes me as I go first to comment on this is that I have a spiritual helper that lost everything in a fire and a business, a saloon, an innkeeper situation. And I remember that helper was a female in her last lifetime. And recently, that message came through. And it was a message of hope and resilience and fulfillment. And as I said in an earlier podcast that we recorded, it wasn't all, as Teresa says, unicorn farts and giggles and bubbles. Life is sometimes these challenges, but within these challenges, there's an opportunity to really rise above my concepts and my thinking about things and just, wow, now here's a real opportunity to live in the present. And okay, I'm here now. What do I do next? Okay, I'm now at the next place. What do I do now? And just keep moving forward. As a friend of ours used to say, a mentor, tankety tank, just kind of keep pushing forward. And before you know it, time goes by. And of course, I lived in Australia for 28 years, and fires are a part of every year in Australia. And we've traveled to Australia, Teresa and I, when some big fires were happening, and they always seem to be in slightly different places, and the Australians are very good at fighting the fire. But I guess for me, there's some common sense things that are not being done. And when you were talking about leadership, whatever your ideology is or where the system that you prefer, it's really important that we have our priorities straight, and that, I think smelt are wonderful things, and I think salmon fishing was like, I get inspired by that idea. But the priority for me would be the tens of millions of people, 40 million people, something in California, unfortunately, they have to take priority because we're all souls here. We're all learning and growing. But let's find positive solutions to make sure everything's covered. And I guess that's where I'll stop. Is that as long as I have my priorities straight, and I think from a spiritual perspective, for the folks that are going through all that loss and change, my first priority is my state of consciousness. And my next priority is my physical body. And then, from there, I move into my family and friends. So as long as I come back to, okay, I'm remaining calm, I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to go through some grieving, that's okay. That's part of releasing all that emotion. But now let's get caught up in the adventure. Let's start flowing towards the adventure of rebuilding. However, we don't have to put up with this. So I think this is where sensitivity comes into play. Something you shared a little earlier, which was, why didn't we pick up on the fact that there wasn't enough water? Who's not paying attention? Are we being complacent in what we think is being done for us? And so this is where we come back to, I really need to trust my sensitivity and true feelings, even if it's not what I want it to be or what I think I want it to be. I guess with that, I'd like to hand it over to Tiger.
Yeah, so this has been for all of you outside the United States, this is, I'm sure you've probably seen it on the news and so forth, but it's significant. They, just like Teresa was bringing up, that they have them every year, and we do have fires every year in different states and so forth. But California is just known for annual fires, and sometimes it's worse than others. And this was one of the bad ones, and it's just really been allowed to expand because of the defenses have been dropped. So I think I'll start out similar to what you're bringing up about building. And spiritually, we all come with the similar dream, and that is to build. I'm here to build. I'm here to build myself and consciousness. I'm here to build my opportunities. And I'm here to be of service and build people, right? We all share that somehow. Even the little gal and the guy in the street, they're doing their part, to fulfill their own opportunity, and they give other people opportunity to back them, right? Someone once said, like, well, how do I know when to give? He says, well, when you feel it, that's what you give, when you feel it. But I'm coming back to that bigger picture, similar to what you brought up, Tom, is that no matter what, I'm here to build. And if I get too lost into the past or the future, I'm not going to release the energy that I have right now to do what needs to be done now. And I won't tap the endless amount of energy and possibilities and prosperity and backing and support if I'm caught up too much in the past. I've lost all this stuff. And I think every one of us has lost something, some more than others. Certainly for these people, they've lost everything in their property. So in the end, it's still going to come down to the same thing. I come with a purpose, and it's to build. And that's all there is. After the emotion is gone, whether I get the insurance or not, whether the leaders are going to back me or not, I come with a purpose, and it's to build. And that's it. After all the fanfare and all the news and everybody I'm listening to and all the poor little me, or you should have done this, I'm going to come back down to that place that I have to build. And so if you know that on the early part, if you know that on the front end of the wave, it's going to be much more clear for you. And the emotions, which will come and go, will pass like the wind, right? And you'll get back to what needs to happen. So I just want to say that. And there's a lot of personal and spiritual backing for you if you're out there and dealing with that. Be open and present to that possibility and stay focused. You will be amazed. You will be amazed if you just give yourself that moment to be present and do what you need to do to keep building, moving forward, you will be amazed at the opportunities. Take them, claim them. Now, the other part of what you're all bringing up here is what is starting to shape up as this misuse of power and misuse in their leadership. It's an example of where things can get too much in one direction without a bigger picture perspective. Because the truth is, there are ways to be supportive to all these things that we want in our environment. I live out in the sticks, and people will forget that Americans have all these guns. They think some countries think we're out in westerns, we all have guns everywhere and stuff, and some of us do. But most of us are environmentalists. I mean, we believe in the environment. I do. But there just needs to be the balance, right? I need to be balanced within the environment, but the environment needs to balance with me as well. So I don't want to pollute myself out of life. And at the same time, I came here with a purpose and I need to do what I need to do. So there's a way to do all this. There is a way to do it, but it's going to take leadership. It's going to take direction. So my closing on this is probably the federal government will end up moving in to back things, insurance-wise and so forth, because there's just a lot of complication and a lot of mess. If you get into this story, you find out it's just one quagmire after the next. It's super complex stuff. It's just gotten very complicated, so it makes solutions very challenging. But I think where I'm going with this is, let's do our best to bail ourselves out and be cautious about getting bailed out from the outside. And there's going to be some of that because of the level of destruction. But the more I get bailed out from the outside, the less correction and less evolution and the less support I have to actually move forward in a better way. So while that we know that's going to happen, and this is all coming from the spiritual perspective, I'm not suggesting that we don't help each other and so forth. So that's not, if you got that there, you've misunderstood what I said. But the more that community relies on each other within that community to rebuild, the better. And because then whatever lessons that need to be learned, whatever corrections need to happen, will happen. If daddy and mommy start bailing me out, I don't get the corrections that I need. I don't learn from the experience the way I set it up, right? I have tremendous train wrecks in my life. I set that up, right? And I've learned from that. And some of those lessons were painful, right? But boy, I have really grown, and it has helped me help other people, right? And that's, to me, that's why there's all that extra backing to build right now, is if those kinds of things are happening in the other environments, there's other countries that are having fires and so forth and war and all kinds of terrible stuff. But if I'm actually taking responsibility for myself and finding a way to build myself and with my community, with my team, then the solutions are there. I actually work with what I've got, and I don't get reliant and dependent on things outside of me. But even more important than that, I will learn the lessons I came to learn. They won't be colored and filtered by someone else getting involved. So take the assistance that, if you're out there and you're listening to this, take the assistance you get, right? Let's not kid around. Let's get our things backed and supported, get some whatever you need. But at the same time, know in your mind that you're going to take responsibility for your own spiritual growth and your own life. And that's what's going to make the difference. The house, the property, California will not be there when it's time to go and move on. You'll be there. So what you gain from it is everything. And so my conclusion on that is just being sensitive that you're here to build. And number two is start building now and it's my responsibility. It's your responsibility with your team, your community, and build that nucleus there. And then everything will work out. It may take a little bit, but everything will work out. Those corrections will happen. The balance will happen between nature and people. All of that will happen because they'll say, no, 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 this needs to happen. Or no, 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 that needs to happen. The things will move in correctly. But if I let outside things come in effect, that's where I won't learn the lesson and I set myself up to do it again. So lots of backing and support to you all. Love you. And we're pulling for you, and keep building.
Yeah, so I guess my final thought about that is that this is a really great opportunity for teamwork, and teamwork not only with those around us, like our neighbors, our community, but also with spirit. And I feel the bigger picture is these moments in time are set up so we can come together. Example 9/11, example COVID. Even though we were separate in different, houses all alone, but we went to a community of worldwide people on the internet, right? Like this. So moments like these in the bigger picture perspective are really about coming together as a team. So that's my final.
All right. Well, that was the first set of news. In just a moment, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll be moving into our next spot, which is Facebook and fact checkers. We'll be right back.
When you arrived back, you were enthusiastic to be here. If you've lost some of that enthusiasm, there's a way to reawaken it. It's by embracing a bigger spiritual picture of your life as a soul and igniting the feeling of freedom within. If you're ready and needing some more enthusiastic mojo for yourself, then follow the link in the show notes to access a free video series created by the Way Showers College and get ready to start feeling more clarity, hope, and freedom within.
Okay, we're back, everyone. And so now let's move on to the Facebook fact checkers. And that is going to be Tiger's going to lead that one. Want to share the story, Tiger? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so this is a pretty interesting one. I kind of zapped into this one as a key topic. Basically, the big story is that Facebook is going to alter how they're working with things on their platform with the fact checkers. When someone posts things, there's fact checkers, and then there's a process that comes up if there's things that shouldn't be on there. There's a removal from that platform. There's they censor certain things or they pull certain things, particularly for things that are illegal and so forth, which I think everybody wants. But it's a big shift in policy. Facebook is a huge outfit, and the shift is basically that they're going to be less fact checking in the way it was, right? And it's shifting to more of how X does it, which is there's a little panel there where people will start putting information. So it's kind of like the community fact checking rather than an entity fact checking kind of thing. And to be clear, there's still going to be fact checking, that is to say Facebook, and there's still going to be censoring content that is perhaps illegal or certain things like that. So that's still happening, and they're in business, and they're going to make sure that their brand and the public that are on there are hitting their standards. So that's still going to happen. But the shifting is that there's going to be less moderation of the content, less for the proponents are, less censorship on it. And I found this one very important for news of the week because it's going to affect everything and everyone around the planet. That's one of the platforms that, as from the globalist perspective, this is part of being the global community, whether you like it or not. And this is going to affect everything, which is why I feel it's an important news thing. Countries have their own way of handling information. Some are more strict with what they want their people to hear, and some are a little bit more relaxed. America has this enshrined in their constitution, They've got this freedom of speech. So, America's pretty far out there, contrast to other countries of how they do things. So, the Americans are kind of used to that, and that's not the typical thing in other countries. So why I'm bringing that up is because if now there's going to be less fact checkers and more of a community fact check, so to speak, then that means each country is now going to have to make its decisions on how to handle that. They're already having to deal with that with X. And now we've got a situation where now Facebook is following suit. So this energy of globalization, of wanting us to connect all the way around, this is an example of it happening, right? And there is a price for everything, right? Because now I'm exposed to other people's opinions and ideas. And whilst we want to have a safe environment, the price I pay for being able to freely speak is I'm going to have to deal with things that I'm uncomfortable with, and I don't agree with other people's opinion. And so that's going to be a wave moving through. And I think you're going to be paying attention to that and the effects of the next coming months of it for sure. But it is similar to our previous podcast on the news, I think last week and even the week before, where there's certain things that are going to start having a movement around the world. And this is one of them. It's just another notch of things starting to open up, right? And that comes with a price, right? So I think for myself and for the team and all of you listening, my opinion is that we're going to be moving more into an energy where there is more open communication. There is more opportunity for that. And it also means we need to strengthen our own purpose, our own direction, so that if there's something that I don't like or is not the way I do it, that I'm clear where that fits for me and I don't let it derail me. So that's the main thing for me. And I think it's in the big picture, I think it's a really good, positive thing, even if it was kind of pushed from the outside in with Facebook. I believe more in communication, not less communication. So I find this more of a positive thing. But the price is to make sure that I know where I begin and end and what I'm here for. And if that's the case, then everybody's going to win.
Yeah, for myself with social media, this is a big part of my existence on the net. So, because I started with Instagram and didn't take off. So Facebook is my go-to. I'm always on Facebook. And so the feeling I got as you're talking and opening up with this story is an opening, like there's an easing up, even though there may still be regulations. And, there has to be, right? You don't want people putting stuff on there about, showing people being beheaded or whatever, like whatever's going on. That's horrific. We don't need to see that. There needs to be definitely a committee or whatever that's going to, do things and check out things. But over the last couple of years, I've noticed through a lot of the communities I've been involved in is that there are a lot of people on maybe one side of the spectrum of political, with their preferences that then get taken down. And I've heard this over and over again. And so being able to access, the social media, especially Facebook, in a way that you can bring forth the positive things you want to share and not have it taken down is a really big difference and a huge shift. So I personally am excited to see this come into play and see how this really moves forth, because I've also been noticing in the communities I'm in that people have been sharing. Have you noticed this on Facebook? They're shifting their algorithms. They're shifting this. And I'm like, wow, look at, you're right. And I myself have noticed I haven't seen the people that were on there previously. I'm seeing more commercials. I'm seeing more of this and that. So I'm very interested in not only obviously spiritually of how energetically we're all going to be affected by this, because for a lot of people, especially people I know in business, this is one way they connect with their communities. This is one way they connect with others who are their apprentices around the world, and really putting out information that can then attract them to whatever they're doing in their life. And so it'll be quite interesting to see and get that perspective of how things are going to shift in the next couple months.
Well, what occurs to me is I trust myself, and all I need to do is communicate with myself more. So if I ask myself, well, how do I feel about that? What's my inner knowing? That leads me on a course where my guidance can kind of explain or clarify some of my concepts about things. And I guess there's things that I'll see posted or reports that are given that I don't prefer to hear. And one of the things I notice is I stop with my sensitivity. I don't want to hear that about him. That's not, or about that situation, because I really believe in this, idea, and usually that idea, say freedom, is born with a feeling that I want to feel that freedom, and so on and so forth. So I welcome communication because it gives me an opportunity from the spiritual perspective to really tune into what do I really feel, what are my inner knowings, what's the picture that I see. And every once in a while, as I do that, my guidance can give me messages, as I just said, to clarify the facts for me. Because sometimes people's opinions and my opinions are based on my concepts about planet Earth, or my maze, as we call it, which are concepts and ideas we picked up from our environment or our parents. This is all part of the process. We're all here to learn. I'm here to learn more about the power within me, that positive, loving, of service power, and solution-oriented, So as I learn to really stand on my own 2 feet, this is all great that this is happening. And I think the confused response or reaction to it would be, oh my God, I don't want them to be able to say that. Because as if there's some fear that somehow that's going to change reality. So it's great that people get to share, because now I get a chance to tune into how do I feel about that. And sometimes I don't have all the facts. So even if it's just a feeling, I've gone away from trying to talk people into or enlighten them or illuminate them about, say, my political thoughts. I realize that, I can drop some seeds once in a while, but people have plenty of opportunity to do their own research and really get a feeling for, trust their sensitivity, and then move with their guidance back to the bigger picture. So I think at the end of the day, it helps me move through life smoother when I take that perspective, with less suffering, and less over concern. Sure, I want to be concerned, and sure, I'm going to lend a helping hand, because someday I may need it for my blind spots or situations that occur that I have to learn. So I think that really sums up my thoughts. And then the only other thing I'd like to mention is that, what will that vibration, that underlying emotional feeling, be reverberating? And maybe Teresa can help us with that, because it's not what we're going to think it is. It's going to be an emotional kind of wave that moves through.
I guess my closing on this one is just that communication is a need. It's not a want. Spiritually, communication is a need. It's like, nourishment to the body. So spiritually, if I'm not part of communication, I'm not involved with my needs. So that's something for me to remember spiritually. Number 2 is the best lessons are learned without filters. So I need to grow. I need to advance myself so that I can handle the world's opinions, right? And they're all just opinions, because I still have my direction for myself. In the end of the day, you have the direction for yourself. That's it. Everyone has suggestions and ideas and support. Maybe there's even opposition, but in the end, it's me doing what I need to do. So communication is essential. And my lessons, I don't want too many things filtering out ideas from me. I want to start building myself to where I need less and less filters, so that I can, like Tom's bringing up, and Teresa, yourself as well, I need less people out there protecting me, because I know how to work with my energy, right? I come here to become a master of my energy, master of myself. And so the final thing on that is that my spiritual helpers graduated from the earth plane because they outgrew planet Earth, meaning they had no separation from anything. Doesn't mean they went, once they learned a lesson, they went back down and they said, oh yeah, let's go get in the dirt and mess with everybody again. It's that, okay, got that. I accept that. I understand that. I know where that fits. It no longer bothers me. I know how to work with it and when to work with it. So I think this is a bigger picture that's going to happen and start shifting things. I think it's a good thing. It's just to be sensitive to it and not get caught up in all the politics and the emotion of what could be or should be, and just start working with what is and what is my purpose.
And so now on to our final story, which is going to be from Tom. He's going to lead this about Greenland. Tell us something exciting about Greenland, Tom. What's going on there?
Well, what's got me excited about this is that feeling of expansion and new opportunities and new creations and new cooperation. And I know that politically, people will have diverse opinions. Well, there'll be two ends of the spectrum. But what I noticed was that as this talk of Greenland, and even the talk about, Canada being a 51st state, which I would probably rank as pretty low in probabilities. But, what I really hear, the ideas that are being, shared are really about how can we work better together? How can we find that common ground? And, I think that we all would back that level of consciousness that says, if, for example, Greenland would become part of the United States, that it's got to be something those folks want to have happen, and that there's a deal where everybody wins. But it's great to start talking about it, because it seems like we've been through a period of time where we've just really pulled back, but then we don't. We decide to get caught up in a moral issue and want to go try to save another country or bring them to our state of consciousness when they're not even ready for it. I mean, we've all kind of learned those lessons over my whole lifetime since Vietnam on. And I'm not saying that I'm all for defending, the Constitution and freedom. And, I resonate a lot with that, that high-minded benefit for everyone and the freedom for everyone. But on the other hand, I don't, and I think that, even if you look at, say, Ukraine, well, it's got to be what the Ukrainians want. I mean, it's not like there's anything wrong with expanding one's territory, but it's got to be something that those souls are ready for, and it's in the best interests, of everyone. Well, we will. I mean, that's where we're going to evolve. I think the thing that's inspiring to me about it is not that sense of U.S., what do they call that when the word escapes me, when you're expanding constantly? It's more that, why don't we start thinking about possibilities again? And how can that's the part that's inspiring. Thinking about the possibilities and finding new ways to work together.
Yeah, so this story for me was interesting as well. I think it's, I'm going to end up getting to a big picture that was similar to the wildfire thing, where we talk about what you brought up, Tom, which was a very astute point about energy, where everything comes in ebbs and flows. And when there is this pullback, right, from expansion, and as a soul, I want to expand. I need to grow, right? This is a need. So it is natural that manifests itself through different ways and countries wanting to do this and wanting to do that. And so this is kind of a natural thing to happen. And why I say that is, when there's a pullback, which is what has been happening for the Americas for a bit, that only goes so far. And then there has to be a push back out. Right. And that's kind of that back and forth. This is an example where we're pushing back out. And I think that if it's not done up front, which it is being done up front, like the communication is happening, whether you like it or not, it lends itself to more manipulation. So what we've had in the past is trying to do things under the table, and we're not clear about what's going on. And so that's the positive part of what's going on, is that you have more clarity of what is happening. And that's what I want in my life. That's what I want with my team. That's what I want in my community. I want it clear of what we're up front, what we're doing and not doing, right? Otherwise, it's difficult for me to move if I feel like I'm being manipulated here and there, and there's these unsaid things. It's like, what's the quickest way to destroy a relationship? Run off of what the unsaid rules are, right? That's how you erode a good relationship. You don't get it clean and clear, right? Mm-hmm. So it just comes down to what was brought up. I'm with the same boat here about teamwork. It's going to come down to a situation where it's a win-win situation, win-win-win-win. And that's it. Everything else is going to be a bunch of rhetoric. It's going to be a bunch of talk and politics and how do we get people emotionally involved. It's all going to come down to how do we have teamwork, and that will rule the day. So all this other stuff, this is why I feel it's so important for discernment to happen and for me to have that bigger picture perspective on life. Otherwise, it's so easy to get caught up in what other people's fears are, what could happen, and we shouldn't be doing this or we should be doing that. A lot of shoulds, you just should all over me, right? But the story is that it will always be teamwork. Sometimes it's a little bit lopsided teamwork, and sometimes it's good 50-50. Well, this is going to be something that's going to end up becoming a good 50-50, and it will be, from what I sense, a larger positive thing because of what other countries need, what the energy needs. I think that's what's going to happen in this one. And I'm glad it was brought up because it's something that will be affecting things and hopefully easing tensions between groups, between countries, and ultimately for myself to get a better understanding of what's going on. And I really like that energy of things being a little bit more upfront, even if sometimes I don't like it. At least it's upfront and clear with me. And that's how my spiritual helpers work with me. They want to be upfront with me and not some kind of covert situation.
Yeah, for myself, the word that comes up is change. And so right now we're in the midst of great change, which we've all talked about many times, other podcasts, books, everything's about change, change, change. But it's when there's the word change, and then there's when change really starts to happen. And how is that change? It really starts within us, right? As a soul. So whatever we're seeing going on in the bigger picture of these stories, Greenland, whatever stories we're talking about, it really is about the change within us. So as we expand and grow, and as, I see a lot of people in all kinds of different places, states of consciousness out there in the world. And so is our leadership. So that's one thing to consider too, when we're watching these, someone coming up going, hey, I want to take over this country to be the 51st or 52nd. And I want this to be part of our, there's where they're at too. And, there's energy behind different organizations and different teamwork, like you're talking about, Tiger, for a couple of times we've talked about teamwork today, and the importance of recognizing how that change feels within you. So, and that's with everything, but really with these bigger picture political, we've been very stirred up the last couple of years from who won and who lost and who's in now and what team's forming and oh my God. And so really taking a step back for yourself in your life and go, okay, how does this change feel for myself? Because as all of us individual souls on the planet, we can come together with people like the current administrative team coming in with Democrats, Republicans, and other people coming together to create change. But it starts from within. So where are you with change? How are you okay with hearing about change happening, even if it may not come into fruition? Like these are just, thrown out things at the moment that are, our bigger picture, right? That's what we're about, bigger picture, and discerning how does that feel for myself? And is that even truth? Is that even going to come about? And what am I doing in my in my world right now to relax and stay calm when people are maybe ridiculing the change or bad mouthing it or, doing the opposite of being unifying. So that's where I wanted to go with it. So, yeah.
Can I have a final word on that?
All right. One final word.
Well, the final word for me is that, I recognize that if there's a core positive feeling there, like expansion, and also teamwork, that an individual state of consciousness is going to pick up on the energy of direction, and they're going to always filter it through their own intellect. So, take the way things are communicated with a grain of salt, and yet it's important to be diligent that somehow those ideas that we're all seem to be picking up on don't get hijacked. And so it's got to come back to, I resonate with expansion for myself, and I resonate with teamwork. And there's nothing, that is the truth of me. And there are positive solutions where we can work together and create more abundance for all. All right, well, that's the final story of today. I'm being reminded by my crew chief here, my lovely crew chief, that stay with us for the final perspective of the week. We're going to take a quick break.
When you synchronize time and trust to get your own answers, it makes playing the game of life a whole lot easier. Part of the game here is about unfolding your inner wisdom, those intuitive gifts that support you every day. Being able to tune into those messages when they show up through the 4 unique avenues is a game changer. These avenues are the ability to just know things, see with your inner vision, hear that small still voice within, and feel from those gut instincts. We all have these abilities. If you're interested in finding out more about how you can unfold them to support your unique journey, you're going to love our monthly masterclasses called Intuition Now. Check out the link below for the date and timing of the next set of classes. And get ready to be in the right timing to trust your inner wisdom. See you soon.
Welcome back for the final perspective of the week. I'd like to turn it over to Teresa, who's very sensitive, has lifetimes of tuning into the big picture spiritually. Actually, she's a little more sensitive than I prefer at times, but
Absolutely.
never mind that. That'll be another podcast.
So my final perspective of the week in regards to the stories we had, we listened to, we shared about, is for yourself, just remember what you've come to do. Just remember your part and your piece of the puzzle and stick to that, your truth, and have a great week.
Thank you for letting me share.
All right, everyone. So that's the perspective of the week, the big picture, discerning news. So however you discern your news, remember to get that spiritual perspective. And this is a great place to get it, right?
Got it.
We look forward to any positive comments, and whatever angle you want to share, we look forward to hearing about it and seeing it.
Yeah. Thank you for letting us be of service.
See you soon.
To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.